Welcome to the SLUSH podcast, the only place on the internet where we cover toddler toys to movie reviews and all of the spoilers in between.
If you read the title of this episode, then you know I'm about to drop our female viewership by a large margin and air out my dirty laundry. This is SLUSH Podcast solo episode number 1, and I'm about to ruin your perception of me by talking about how deep I am and was into anime. Unfortunately, a very visual episode, so I'll be as descriptive as I can for the listeners. I don't get many times to talk about anime in depth with the guys and Korra on the casual episodes, so this is how it's going to be broken down for you all at home. For you see, I'm going to lay out how much I remember watching, when I started, the pace of how I was watching these shows, and any breaks I took, how I saw the perception of anime change throughout the years inside and outside of it, and I'm going to have a 3x3 of the most important anime I've held dear to me. So, how much have I watched? Thankfully, the website, my anime list, helped me narrow it down quite a lot from what I remember watching, and that number was over 200 plus shows, and this is still a work in progress because I simply had to stop trying to find obscure ones I watched and just make this script. In fact, even after this, I'll still be finding some that pop into mind. The first anime I remember watching was called Desert Punk, mid-2000s anime. I saw my dad, funny enough, watching it on his own, so I asked him what he was watching and why, because it looked so bizarre to me, unlike any other cartoons I've watched or seen. And he looked me dead in the eyes, and he looked at me with the biggest grin on his face and said, "'Cause this girl has huge boobies," with like grabbing his chest emotions, with suggestive motions. And I looked at the TV, and there she was. An anime girl with huge breasts. Hasukuru Junko-san. Neurons activated for the young Meister. After that, my older brother and I saw that YTV had this segment called Bionics that aired anime late at night on YTV. For the more mature audiences, quote unquote. We stayed up just to watch these anime shows like Naruto, Bleach, Inuyasha, Gundam Seed, Full Metal Alchemist, because it had cool action and stories that regular cartoons didn't have, plus blood and girls like Miss Junko-san. And at the time, we only got cable network for our shows, and since we were limited to how we watched these shows, we we picked up anime games and to figure out these stories chronologically, because we could never really make sure to watch the newest episodes outside of reruns. And this is how I got into Dragon Ball. Usually never got past the first few episodes of Z, because for some reason that was the only part that was aired consistently outside of other reruns. And one night we watched one of the movies called Dragon Ball Z Broly Legendary Super Saiyan, and mild spoilers, this Broly guy casually blows up a planet and my mind. And I had to get into this series, because how the fuck? So we picked up Dragon Ball games, and I played them at friends' places at home, and got absolutely hooked to the series. And then when we finally got around to fun and watching it full on, we were constantly power scaling who can beat who, because this motherfucker Goku just seems to be the pinnacle of anime. So that's how it started. Pretty wholesome and relatable for the most part, but allow me to lose you in this segment. My older brother gets a computer, and we have Wi-Fi now and access to the World Wide Web. We can now watch any series to its completion on the sites that had hundreds of anime for free. Remember to legally stream shows to show support. Ooh. So there were forums that were talking about what was the best of anime to watch, and that's what we initially started with, but we didn't really know too many folks that was watching as much anime as we were at the time. And it was a long list of shows that I never really felt the need to watch. But we noticed that there was anime currently airing and had new episodes weekly, so we gravitated towards those. And after looking a bit more closely, we noticed that anime were paced out into different seasons in winter, spring, summer, fall, respectively. So we knew what to anticipate, what to watch, and what seemed the most popular. And at this time, we also picked up reading manga on our own and got excited to see which of our favorite manga will get adapted into anime. And then, like a moth to the flame, outside of the shonen shows, we found the more raunchier of shows of the uncensored variety. And noticed there was a plethora of them. Some with a mix of action and raunchy, and just some that were just comedic. And oh boy, we went down the rabbit hole on this for this one, and finding all kinds of new shows and seeing just what was allowed on Japanese television. Ah, and I'm only tagging this segment on so the crew can finally make me stop defending myself about this. Hentai. Yes, this led me to finding it because there was regular porn. Surely there had to be. For anime because of how detailed they got into the raunchy shows. And no, I will not be going into detail about this, and I will not be taking any further questions related to the matter. However, for those who are curious about my anime list, I rated one hentai among them. You want my treasure? You can have it. I left everything I gathered together in one place. Now you just have to find it. Moving on. This is where a lot of the obscure anime I watched begin to fall into place. Because at this time in early mid-2010s, I was watching any and all anime that were coming out. And I was taking notes on the seasonal anime and what to expect from manga. And made friends to talk about recommendations, various series as well. I also noticed what different animation studios for distinct styles had, like Studio Trigger, Kyoto Animation, Studio Bones, Toei, Ufotable, Madhouse, just to name a few. And new anime was coming that had good production. However, there was just so much anime that only had like 12 episodes that never went any further in the story because either didn't have the budget to continue it, and it wasn't having a big enough audience, or it's just promote light novels that they were based on. It was just like books that aren't like outside of manga that had these adaptations for it, which made it really hard to invest yourself into new series if you knew it wasn't going to go anywhere because it would just end on a cliffhanger or nowhere. And shonen shows were the only ones that were continuing on past a lot of these seasonal anime. I was swamped and exhausted since it felt like a lot of it was blending together, and you can tell what shows were what was getting really cliches that were really popular, like rom-coms being a big thing for a while, and harem style shows. Then there were different character tropes like kudere, yandere, tsundere, hajidere, etc. And each anime had those in them for some reason or the other, and I had to take a break and shift to watching like drama or crime shows like Dexter or Breaking Bad. And I took my break about early 2017 since whatever shows were coming out weren't pulling me in. And a lot of times when anime ended, I just read the manga afterwards, so it felt like why bother with the anime in most instances. Then there was a huge boom of this genre called isekai that gradually took anime by storm and made every show blend even more together. And I was watching my crime shows way more at the time anyways, so it was a natural progression away from the medium. And then the only anime I was keeping up with at the time was Dragon Ball Super, since episodes were still coming out. Me and my mates were all watching it together weekly. I didn't pick up anime again until 2020, leading up to the whole world shut-in phase, so I figured why not. I've been keeping up ever since, and to actually really enjoy all the anime that's coming out nowadays, and Crunchyroll Anime Awards make it fun to spread the variety of what everyone is into. So, now that that segment is over, how has the perception of anime changed along with the community? Now that I've explained my history with it, I figure it helps show my insight on it all from a personal experience. Being an anime fan back in the day was a bit rare, so people who were really passionate about it made it very clear, but also had a lot of people in your face telling you what was the best to watch or to start with. It was and still is a big debate, but not as aggressive as it was before, and which is great. I don't have much experience growing up the 90s with anime, but 2000s era had a pretty cool progression since there wasn't a good place to watch anime still. So it was stuck to YouTube from people who bought the VHSs and CDs and ported it there into various parts. And this time there weren't too many people watching it, so it's still rare to know anybody else watching outside of public forums. From what I noticed, not many people paid too much mind to it and brushed it off as still strange or childish. And in the late 2000s is when these anime sites started popping up and making anime way more accessible than before. These anime sites helped make it pick up some traction and brought in much more audiences, and as the internet became way more widespread. The anime community was just wandering around a bit aimlessly on their own, but now that there was a place to watch anime more frequently and easier to find others with the same interest and talk about their favorite shows, in turn made it helped gather praise people's interest in anime in different ways and made the website My Anime List really pop off as a hub. The 2010s is when I noticed the more negative appeal that a lot of folk who weren't into it would point out. Either that or I started to notice it more as I matured, but anywho, those were the very same raunchy anime and really strange things that anime would have in it that make people who didn't watch it or understand stay away from it, and gave it less of childish cartoony vibes to I hear boobs ignoring physics kind of vibe. Granted, anime has always had this, but since more people were on the web, were seeing it way more now than ever, it garnered that outlook on it. Mid 2010s is when streaming platforms were really trying to gather that audience and incorporate more anime in their sites, legally this time, and spread more appeal to foreign audiences. This helped more shows stay afloat, and since unfortunately the shows that people enjoyed watching, the ratings and viewerships were mostly taken into account from Japanese audiences at the time, and the platforms many international folk were watching from, that didn't actually contribute to most of its success. Even the many AniTubers that were making careers on YouTube, doing reviews and memes and making abridged version of their favorite shows, were trying to boast to watch anime legally to show support, making the anime community a lot more vocal in that sense, and helped shift a lot of people to stream it legally, and felt like the community as a whole really matured. And then late 2010s and early 2020s now have anime being way more accepted into as a medium to watch, since it's more open on these streaming platforms for anyone to watch. Heck, this era felt like it had the most accessible anime to come out and didn't have a lot of these cliche archetypes anime was known for, and making more unique characters in their stories, with one big exception, but choose to ignore it or acknowledge it unless they're doing something really cool or unique with it. Isekai! Ha! Nowadays, anime seems just like another style of show to watch, and truth be told, I don't think we've been in a healthier state of it, and Crunchyroll doing anime awards every year to celebrate the community and the directors, actors, crew who make these shows and films happen has been a godsend, irregardless of any minor issues it has. Anime going from obscure to being more more shunned to watch, and now to being openly celebrated like this, is absolutely fantastic. So, with all that in mind, what were the anime shows that I have held dear to my heart? These are shows that I've felt stood the test of time and really inspired me, with the themes they displayed, and that carries me to this day. All right, I guess we'll start with the obvious one: Dragon Ball Z. Dragon, rock the Dragon Ball Z. So, what haven't I said about Dragon Ball that I really like? This is a show that really really garners like a training in any the truest of forms. Even just the cool fights and action set pieces, the character designs, and way a lot of these villains just like flow off. Even the way like each arc segments into itself, like the consequences of one story leading into the other. The cast is all fun to watch. Even the way they scream for hours on end to charge up just to get ready to smack the next guy is honestly just fun as hell to watch. Even the filler episodes in the original Z are so fun. Even at a boasting of like a 295 episodes, it's still really fun to watch. I always recommend Z to watch for anybody anyways, instead of Dragon Ball Z Kai. Not that I have anything against Kai. It's just I just find that there's some segments of filler that I feel like get lost that you don't really see in Kai. I do prefer the actual translation and some of the scripts, like the way they kept it more true to source material in Kai. But there's something about the way they decided to do Z. It's just so interesting and just fun to that I just can't help but give way to watching it. Prefer to recommend this one over any other version. But yeah, Dragon Ball Z. I grew up watching it. Played every game, almost every other game to get inspired into it. Still play games to this day. Dragon Ball Fighters being one I play competitively. Like if I don't see a series that has inspired me any more than than this one than any other, to be honest, on this page. But yeah, Dragon Ball. It's like one of those unique ones where I find you don't see like really much in anime, where you don't actually get to see like characters really grow up in a segment. A lot of times it's in high school. This is a segment where you like actually see from like if you watch from Dragon Ball Z, you watch Goku from being like a 5-year-old all the way to him being like an adult, like in his like mid 40s. Like it's crazy. You don't really see any. You don't really see any other main character or to go like a transition like that from his own story from start to finish, which I think really stands to really unique to Goku. Heck, even see in his in Z his own son go from like pretty much like toddler all the way to a teenager to pretty much like almost a man at the end. Anyways, yeah, highly recommend. It's a tough to convince people to watch it, because like I really like people starting from Dragon Ball, which it has like 151 episodes, 53 episodes, and Dragon Ball Z has 295. Then there's like Dragon Ball Super, there's Dragon Ball GT, now there's Dragon Ball Daima, and those all branch off from Z, so it really just becomes personal preference at that point. Like at this point, you're better off just watching Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and see where you feel afterwards. I like recommending watching the movies on release date at side by side when the show was when you're watching Z when the show is airing, to see like the because those movies all coincide with the animation in their particular style. Because you will see Dragon Ball really take shift in animation styles throughout the years, from like middle of the 80s to like all the way to the late 90s. So yeah, I don't know how much more to say. Son Goku, the greatest anime character of all time. Anyways, this other show I don't think a lot of people have heard about, or what. This is a show on Netflix you can watch. It also has a show prior to this. This is from Baki the Grappler, or on Netflix the show is called Baki Hanma, or Baki in Baki Hanma. This show is completely ridiculous to the most extremist sense. The the martial arts in this anime, they will convince you to your face that you can do like supersonic booms like with your fist, like right now. Like if you believe you could hit break the sound barrier with your fist, it'll pump you out to convince it. You know what? That guy can do it. Why can't I? That narrator convinced he gaslights the fuck out of you that anybody can do these segments. There's even some areas where like some criminals, like for some reason the GPS of lots of like militaries are tracking these like super scary strong martial artists, and if they ever decide to go for like a light jog, all these GPS start hard focusing tracking their movements because they do not want to lose track of them at any given moment. And then you could see like the aftermath of that, where there's GPSs in cars not working and in planes are like, what's going on? Why can't we see what's going on? It's because these freaking criminals are just going for a light jog because that's how strong they make them out to be, but they're all just regular dudes. It's surreal. And then you can see Baki, he likes to do like image training, not too different from Dragon Ball, in theory, right? Dragon Ball, Goku will be visioning like any opponents he's fought before and he's training, but Baki, he was like, you know what, how would I fight like a cockroach, or how would I fight like a like a praying mantis? And then he like visualizes it and like manifests it, and he starts fighting like these obscure insects to like human size, and if they're human size they have the strength of like a like become tenfold instead of them being an insect. Then he'd be like, I'm gonna visualize myself fighting Mike Tyson and see how well I can block and take his blows. And even bystanders, like you would think this is all just in his head at some point. It's like, is he actually just hallucinating? But no, even bystanders are like, oh my god, he's getting his ass kicked by like this image training. And they're like, oh, who is he trying to image train? Like, what is he doing? And then him like imagining so hard who he's fighting against, like, oh my god, he's trying to fight legendary boxer Mike Tyson. I can visualize, I can see his fierce blows and what he's giving to Baki. Like, this is insane. Like, just goofy, out of the world shit. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But the way the show convinces you that these segments can happen is so absurd. Even every character they introduce has a different flavor to it. Like, I love the cast of Baki so much, to the obscurity that they bring it out. They even have like politicians who show up, like, Barack Obama wants to meet Baki's dad for some treaty to sign or whatever heck. Or you'd see like Muhammad Ali's son who's like, I want to fight Baki because I want to prove I'm the strongest. Or like there's like a Che Guevara like spoof character in the show too. Even like there's just so many goofy characters like that in super scenarios that it just makes this show so goddamn lovable that I can't get enough of it. I got something in my eye, but I'm gonna keep powering through anyways. Oh, all right. And this was a show called Fate Zero, which actually, this girl is the inspiration for this sword. Hey, oh my god, it's finally brought up. What is this? Where is this sword from? My lord, I bet you've all been wondering, or I've answered many times and nobody's cared to know. But this show, this is where this girl comes from. All right, this is, I'll just get some backstory. This is the legendary sword Excalibur from King Arthur, in materialism from this show, Fate Zero, and Fate's 98 respectively. But what can I say about this show? Fate Zero is, I think it's a good show for a lot of people to be like, even just grasp into, because even if you're in the more mature side, because this is an era like that came out where a lot of shows have like main characters who are high schoolers, and every opponent you see is high schooler related. Everyone's in goddamn high school doing these things. And this show actually, like, Fate Stay Night, it's a sequel series, is based around one of the main character's son, who's a teenager, and he fights other teenagers in this thing. But this is a segment where they actually have like adults participating. This is the main story of it is the Holy Grail War that blows up in Fuiki, Japan, where 7 masters summon 7 servants, and they have to all duke it out until there's only one master and servant left. and they with the deaths of all other servants, they bring up the Holy Grail that can grant any of the wish of the user, either from the master and the servant, can get any wish they want. So that's their whole contestant, and a lot of times, like, you can actually see professionals who, like, professional assassins and professional magicians, and even just guerrilla like tactics and even you're not just seeing people who are going head to head. You're seeing people like taking actual like military, like not military, but like strategic ways to take out their opponents. That isn't just like, oh, I'm gonna go fight them and beat them up. They're going to use like different tactics to like either like dispel like masters from the servants or lead their servants into traps to like do it and find different ways to like get at the other opponent, not just utilizing pure raw power over these instances. And the story doesn't really have like, it has like a main character, but like every like master servant is a duo that you can find yourself interested, invested in, or even some parts rooting for. But it does keep you on the edge of your seat. It's just kind of like a darker take on the series, especially since like a lot the way it utilizes kind of the violence compared to a lot of them. Not that any others really shy too much from it, but this is definitely one that really pressures into it. This is like 24 episodes, 25 episodes. It's a great to watch. The first episode is long and a lot of exposition, but if you could sit through the first episode and really sink your teeth into this, I trust you will enjoy yourself. Sometimes people have a hard recommendation. Do you start with Fate Zero or Fate Stay Night? Fate Stay Night is technically the series. It's the main series, because Fate Zero is technically a prequel to Fate Stay Night. So it was intended to watch Fate Stay Night for like you watch Fate Stay Night and then Fate Zero. But truth be told, it's a prequel. I don't think watching either which way takes away any value from the other. Like, say some of the mystery in Fate Stay Night, if you watch Fate Zero first, some of the mystery is like a bit taken away, but just kind of it's just kind of adds to the story in my personal opinion. But overall, I think it's personal preference. I prefer Fate Zero over Fate Stay Night anyways, and even the way this ends, I think it's incredible. It always has you guessing who's really gonna be the winner or the loser of this, and in every character you don't know if who's gonna survive by the end of it. Either way, highly recommend. Yeah. Anyways, it's Excalibur, dude. King Arthur's a girl, and she uses this thing to use Excalibur. Oh my god! And that's a real sword. I will bring it out in a moment, but like, God. The Fate rabbit hole is deep, and honestly, I don't tell you to get any deeper than Fate Zero and Fate Stay Night. Honestly, like, if you do take the rabbit hole, like, bless your soul, it's deep and it will sink your teeth into you, and you either come out hating the series even more or being like, oh my god, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I can now understand way more about the series than I ever thought before, because there's so many spin-offs and like games based off of this, and it's very overwhelming. That's why I only tell you about the first two. You can ignore every other of the animes. You don't have to think about those. Just watch this one and you'll be just fine. Don't go too deep into it. There is no other Fate series other than maybe Fate Stay Night that you can switch in between to this one. Don't think about any other one. King Arthur is a girl, yes, don't question it, but she's the best girl. She gets to use the fucking cool ass thing. Anyways, watch Fate Zero. This is actually a very recent, more recent anime I watched. This was the anime I think I watched it like a few years ago now. But this anime is called Monster. This anime has 72 episodes, and I did not expect to get this invested into like a drama series like this. Because this one really like is intriguing, and it really has you guessing on your feet about what's going to unfold, and the way the main villain is doing his thing. Like this story pegs the question, like I'm just gonna tell you the basic premise of it, right? So Dr. Tenma, he's a Japanese man who's a doctor based in Germany. So He's a pretty prolific brain surgeon. He's the one of the best in the country, and he's using his skills in this very famous hospital. Um, and a lot of times whenever they need like high profile characters to like who this with the brains, they get Dr. Tenma to help do it. And even the way their director, their drop office is like a main head doctor who manages the hospital. He's a bit sketchy in areas where he always tries to do things to boost like the hospital's like value or inspiration. I mean, which is fine and all in its own. But he does it in kind of weird ways to do it. To kind of jab at some of the folks, which doesn't really sit well with Tenma, where he's trying to prioritize saving lives more than anything. So, one night, it puts a lot of his morals and values into question. Where in one night, one of the main funders and investors to the hospital he works in, I believe he has like an aneurysm in his brain, and then he gets airlifted right to the hospital, and but while that is happening, a small child, a German child, he gets shot in the head, and he's brought into the ER, and Dr. Tenma is working on him like right away. And so he's trying to save this little boy's life who's not even like maybe like 5-6 years old. And while he gets ready to prep for surgery, his boss comes up to him and, hey, you need to stop working on that small child. Our main investor is getting prepped in another room. We need your skills because you're our main brain surgeon to go help save his life. But then the Tenma is like, but like there's a child with a bullet in his head, and I'm the only one who can get this out of his brain, and I feel like I can still save his life. He's still breathing. And then the doctor's, his boss is like, well, you have to do this because I'm telling you to. And then this begs the question of like, do you save like the investor who's like older man who has lived quite a value of his life, or do you save a child who still has like a rich merit value to his life? And Dr. Tenma makes the decision to prioritize saving the child over the old man investor, and in turn does save the child. But the segue that this show does into is, what if that was the wrong decision? What if saving this child unfolds of the whole plot of this show? Because what if the child you save turns out to become a monster? The more they grow up, the more they proceed in his life, the more people he terrorizes, the more people he manipulates, and gets in more bodies he stacks up. He's like killing people without even being around. He's like manipulating like scenes behind the scenes of everybody. Even before, after he gets his life saved by Dr. Tenma, his boss, who like as soon as like he hears that he saved the child instead of him and the investor died, he pretty much revokes his medical license and gets rid of his job. And then Tenma, under his breath, need a child, he says like, curse that man. I was like why can't you prioritize human life over like I'm trying to save like the newer generation. And then he just said under, it's like, well, I wish he would die in some aspects. But in that same sense, that child who was just saved also hears that while he's recovering. Then as soon as he's able to like recover, he finds a way to sneak into the director's office and murder him in cold blood, and escape from the scene unharmed. And then because of that, all the murder of that looks like it was based on Dr. Tenma from their previous argument, because he lost his job, lost everything because he chose to save somebody else. And now he ends up becoming a fugitive on the run, losing his license, losing his hospital, and having to run away from the police. And then this child that he just saved is now gone, whatever. And he's like, what the heck, did that child really like just do that? Like I can't fathom like why even like someone so young could be capable of such things. So and this time he tries to find the kid to see if he can like in hopes of like saving him to some degree, but he ends up being on the run for so long with no rest or no easy. And then like in the years where it starts to calm down, he slowly starts learning more about this kid who's slowly growing up to become a menace. The more evil acts he does, stacks and stacks and stacks. And the thought of this just weighs on the doctor's mind, like, man, I saved this kid, but he's like hurting more and more people, and he's like terrorizing Germany from whatever way. And then it becomes like a geopolitical with like the mafia and like how like neo-Nazis are. Dude, the way this story unfolds has you like guessing every moment, and the way Johann Liebert, the main villain, the child who gets saved, he's such an intriguing villain that like he has a presence that like I don't think I've really seen any other villain have before. Like he has such a presence even without being around, because the more you learn about him, just becomes like more intriguing. But it takes like he's in scenes where he's not like we just learning about him, or even just seeing the way he's terrorized people. You can tell it's the way his aura influenced people. It just with passive intimidation, right? And then eventually he becomes talked to that he isn't like he kind of makes you question if this guy is even real the way that people talk about him. He's such an interesting character that really like bounces off and well for the series. It's I think this one took me a minute to really feel that I was into it, but I think it was around episode 30. There's just one episode that just like completely hooked me. It's like, I need to see the rest of this show. Like I cannot get enough of it. It was the turning point where where I realized I was hooked to this series. And then it also made me feel like pretty happy that I can now that I feel comfortable watching like longer series again, because there's a long time where I didn't really like because I didn't want to really watch any series that didn't like had long running episodes. Like, man, I was like, I don't want to get into like One Piece or Bleach or any other long series shonen again. I want to just watch something a good story that's like maybe like 12 to 24 episodes in the year, and then it can come out the next year. I don't want to watch a series from the get-go that has like over 100 plus or 50 plus episodes. It's going to be daunting, right? And then after watching Monster, I realized, man, all right, if they do it well, it can hook me. I can get back into it. So I really feel like this anime was the one that really like put my focus and getting really myself back into anime. I highly recommend it. It does funny enough like feel like a novel when you're reading it. Like even all the episodes that feel like filler are all still like it still really contribute to the story, even for how like Dr. Tenma is as a character. So highly recommend. Definitely is one of my favorite villains in recent memory. Johann Liebert, definitely definitely a character I would have never thought had such a negative aura influence on me. I guess you're like, whoa, this guy's kind of an asshole without even really being around. But yeah, Monster, could not recommend enough. This is a series of Violet Evergarden. This has, I think, one season and like 2 movies. It's not that long, because I think it's like 13 episodes. One movie, one solo movie, and then one like canon movie. This series is about like pretty much war times, where this girl ends up she's pretty much a child soldier in young like maybe late 1800s, early 1900s, like kind of warfare. She finds herself in an explosion where she loses both of her arms, and her head captain that she was with all the time also is in the explosion, but he's like even more gravely injured. She loses his arms, and he has like shrapnel in his chest, and it doesn't look like he's going to be surviving. And she's dragging him by his teeth to get him out of there, and but then it cuts to black. You see her in a hospital with no arm, in a hospital, and she's pretty much alone. And they pretty much telling her situation. Yeah, you survived the thing. You guys won. You guys are heroes. And then she's asking where her captain is, and you're like, just and they don't really answer her, just be appreciative that like you survived. Here we're going to be giving you these mechanical arms to help you like in your day-to-day because you've lost both of your arms in the explosion. And she tries to take it easy, but then she's consistently asking where her head captain is because her the more you learn about how way she talks about it, this head captain was like was someone who she really was fond of, who really taught her about a lot of things, from being just a child soldier into like the woman she slowly becomes. In this series, she's a soldier with like no goal. Since the war is over, she doesn't really know what to do. So she finds herself trying to find merit and trying to find ways to buy time, and everyone's telling her just why don't you try writing letters, seeing human emotion, like writing letters for people, because at the time people didn't know how to read or write, so they would hire people to make letters for them and deliver them. So that's the kind of job she takes. She goes to a place called Violet Evergarden, who specializes in delivering mails and making letters for people who can't read or write. So that's the story. That's what the main premise of the show is. Every episode you pretty much meet a new person that she writes for. She writes for like an author who's trying to deliver a letter. She even writes like a letter to this prince and this princess who are writing love letters to each other. And the way she finds like how like the way she becomes like out of her shell, where she becomes so cold-hearted and pretty closed off, not understanding human emotion, and now she's in a vulnerable spot to see other people's emotions unfold and understanding like why people love, why people like are friends, or why people care about one another, really blemishes in her own to why she cares so much about the captain she mentioned before. It's pretty much the premise of the show. I won't try to go too much into it, but this is the show resonated with me. Because this was a show that I was really shocked that made me cry. I never thought I would be like a grown man and cry in a show. Because this is a segment, and I find her personal story the most interesting. But all the other people's stories are also very garnering and like tear jerking. But I find this is the only one that did make me cry, because like she is going through, she's mourning what she feels like. Mourning loss because she feels like she's lost purpose and lost her one. Because nobody's telling her where her captain is, so she feels more lost and alone because that guy was pretty much guiding her, telling her what to do all the time, but now that she doesn't have that, she feels so misguided. And there was an episode where I thought it was the most like human reaction to something that really like sat with me. Even just the way like the voice actors that like did this, like they really put their emotion into it, because I never related to more to something like emotionally wise. It definitely like even brought me to tears, because the way the way in mourning she finds herself in. Highly recommend. It's a beautiful animation. This isn't bombastic fights or huge like crazy mystery. This is just like sad, feel good, mostly sad. The only thing I like this series, I would almost give it a masterpiece, but I give it like a 9, maybe 9.5 out of all of these, like, because I kind of dislike the ending out of my own personal experience with it. I could see why some people would, but I would rather, like, I feel like the ending kind of demerited a bit of the show, but overall did not take away the emotions I felt from watching it. Still great. I never thought a show could make me cry, and this is something that like, I thought that part of me was long gone, and this one fucking ripped it out of me. I was like, oh my god, that was point blank. Oh shit. Well, anyways, Vinland Saga. This is a show that's bloody and cool, action and Vikings and stuff, but also with deep monolithic like monologuing and questions of like morals and like worldviews and philosophies. This show right now only has 2 seasons, but it definitely has some themes and stuff that I feel like resonate even with me. This is a more recent show that came out. I knew about this manga for a while. This is actually an interesting manga because I think the guy who's making Vinland Saga, he's taking inspiration from like old texts and making his own interpretation of the story. Um, because it's based in like after year. I think it's based in like the 1100s, like with prior after year 1000. I'm trying to remember what time and place takes place, but the way like they show like Britannia and the UK and Wales is so interesting. Um, and this is I'm just gonna cut it short. This is like this first season is a revenge story. Um, Without getting too much into it, I will try not to spoil too much, but the main character Thorfinn, you start off the show with him as like maybe like a kid, maybe like I mean 4 5 years old, who looks up to his dad, who is an ex Viking, and who just decides to take refuge and shelter and spending his life as a farmer. And his is pretty much trying to his son admires him so much because he's strong and he's personable and kind. And but then one day on their way to taking back supplies, they get raided by like mercenaries, by one of this guy Escalade, who I think is one of the most prolific and like interesting characters in this entire show. He's kind of like the pseudo main antagonist. So in this segment, his dad ends up being able to fight off a lot of the mercenaries without any weapons at all. Even the way the mercenaries are beat and swept off his feet is crazy. And then he finds himself overwhelmed with even like how many mercenaries are there. So he makes a deal with Escalade. Like, if I beat you in a fight, would you let like my son and so go? He makes the deal with them. Yeah. And his dad does beat him, but because he's still a mercenary, he finds himself shooting a plethora of arrows and killing the guy. And then in front of Thorfinn, and Thorfinn with a burning blood in his hands, with his father's fresh blood like in his hands, he shouts and curses his name, Escalade, that he's promises to kill him, to his very breath. And Escalade, finding interesting that, decides to take him under his wing. You know what? You're not dying today, but you're probably gonna be the only one that leaves here alive. And decides to see if he can like go for an extra few bucks as a slave. But when he takes him on as like a bandit, when his bandit of mercenaries, he finds himself Thorfinn becoming an exceptional warrior. He's training himself to get better and better, and finding himself more athletic and stronger, just so he can kill Escalade. And Escalade's like, wow, this guy is really showing promise, just because how much he wants to kill me. And that's pretty much the dynamic of the show, where you watch Thorfinn trying to train himself and grow up so he can kill the guy who's taking care of him. It's such a crazy show, because even in the first, I really had something in my eye, but the way this show unfolds and the raids they took, it's so bloody, and the fight they do is so cool. And the show kind of takes like a 180 in season 2, without spoiling too much of it. So this show takes a 180 as it is, kind of emphasizes like how like bad violence can be in the truest of forms, and what it does to families, what it does to men, and what it does to perception of like generations going forward, and what it means to truly have an enemy, what it means to truly like be like not a hero, but like a oh my god, what was it? But what it truly means to be a warrior. Strength isn't for threats and provocation to showcase how strong you are. It's strength is something you show yourself to how strong you are, being able to protect others. And that's it's hard not to explain the second season without spoiling the first, but it's definitely like two directions of a show you wouldn't expect it, like the one that's to take. But I still think the action and the storytelling and the world building they have of this show is very interesting, and I cannot recommend it enough, especially if you're like an anime about Vikings and they're like throwing like hatchets and logs at each other and like they're hacking limbs. This is amazing. I gotta watch this. A Viking anime show, could not recommend it enough. Even sometimes they start speaking Gaelic, which is crazy enough. Um, but yeah, Vinland Saga, highly recommend. Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Oh my god, what movie is this one? This I think this is like the second movie, like a recap movie. But I was watching this series in chronological order. Um, so I watched the prequel series that showcases. If you see in this segment here, has like a guy with black hair and a green jacket, and a dude with blonde hair. The blonde hair guy is this is space battle. This is space soap operas to the truest extent, like even more so than Gundam. Um, but the thing I like about this series is that it takes like military tactics and just like a fucking ascends it. Like I was genuinely shocked by how smart every character is in this show. Like I don't feel like people like make dumb military strategies in this show. I feel like every decision that gets made is calculated. Even like uh something that I do hate in shows to showcase something, so to showcase that someone is smart. There's one anime that does it very badly. I'll just use it as an example. Rising of the Shield Hero is an anime that I'm not very fond of. But the way they showcase that the main character is smart, they just make every character around him dumb, and then say like, "Oh my God, how are we gonna get through this army of like monsters or whatever heck?" And there's an obvious answer that not everyone has seen, but only the main character can see. It's like, well, obviously the main character's gonna say that, and he does. He's like, "Oh my God, he's such a genius! Why didn't we think of that? This is amazing! This is he's gonna become a general in no time! Whoa!" And then I guess from like these older folks, I was like, "Dude, you never thought of that solution of like a simple pincer attack or what?" And I was like, "Dude, this is just a joke." So like there's a lot of, I find, instances where like when military did get involved, that does happen a lot. And this is one where I feel like a lot of the military tactics that get implemented in this series are very smart and tactical. Even the way the main characters here bounce off of each other, because the main characters are become like a rebel people, and like the kind of the pristine uh 1% people who are like trying to keep the earth to themselves, people who are trying to like get these people off of it. um the way they implement tactics against each other is so goddamn interesting. Even I haven't watched a movie in a while. I'm not gonna lie to you, they throw a lot of big terms at you and a lot of like military terms and stratagems. um but there be one instance where like one of the main character slash villain, he's like under his boss, right? And he sees a flaw in his boss's like battle plan, and then he's like, "Hey, boss man, like if you go through with this plan, like you're about to lose this many armada if you go through with it, because I think this might be a trap." And then his boss is like, "Actually, I have been thinking about the same thing. I think this is a trap, but if we don't do this, we lose a good pivot point in the battle. And if we don't get this point, even knowing it's a trap, we are losing more. We're losing less space than not doing it than before." And he's like, "Well, I disagree," but then you're like, "Well, this is my decision. This is my ship, and this is my decision. And this is how we got to do." So then instead of like counter argument, like instead of going against his own, he's like, "You know what? I trust his judgment. I'm actually, if this is the way he wants to go into this trap, I'm gonna at least reduce how much this casualties and the way we handle going into this trap, and get as many of us alive as possible." And exactly what they, and I was like, "What? People are actually like smartly like planning this shit? This is crazy." I'm not used to this in anime. A lot of times, like the description example I used before, and I was like, "What the? This is nuts!" Even the way they like have their space battles, like they're blowing each other's ships up. Like the only thing I can compare this to is like Ender's Game, with how like they're utilizing the ships to like destroy like enemy bugs and stuff like that. I think the main character is supposed to be like the blonde guy, and the villain's supposed to be the dude in the, oh my god, I forgot their fucking names, but they're so. Anyway, I want to continue the series. I'm very excited to. This is only the second movie that I fell in love with. there hits a moment in this movie where they're behind enemy lines in the trap and they find the green jacket guy finds himself like, oh shit, if I don't get out of this momentum, he's gonna get himself blown up along the ship, since they already lost a lot of crew members at this point. And the main guy, he's like, you know what, like if this is going to be the main like ship that does good all commands, will get a good stronghold against them. So he starts planning to go like find a way to get at them. So what this guy does, he finds a way to pit maneuver himself, and everyone's already shooting at that ship to try to blow up their chain of command. He ends up charging at the main guy's ship, and he's like, wait, what is this guy doing? And he's dodging his a lot of his rays and stuff like that, and it pits himself right under the other the main character's like ship. And now you have both chain of command ships right next to each other, and then they have to stop shooting. The entire battlefield has to stop shooting, because if they like shoot either one of those ships down, like they can't guarantee that they'll both blow up their both own chains of commands. And it becomes such an tense moment, right? And it's like, do they drop a thing down to invade the other ship, or are they ready for that? Or if we just plow through and just go through this battlefield with every other one of their allies watching as both enemy cagemans follow each other in this battle. It's so interesting the way they're able to implement a lot of these maneuvers. Oh my god. I feel so disrespectful for not remembering their names, but I thought this was such an intelligent military strategic show about space battles. Definitely not for everybody. And I don't even know if I'm watching it the right way. I've been watching it like prequel movies and then going to jump right into the show. The show has only like, I think, 160 episodes, but I'm still excited to get into that. This is still just a second movie, and the fact that I felt this much about just the movie and I'm excited to watch the rest of it. Oh my god. Anyways, Legend of the Galactic Heroes. If you like Gundams, like stratagems, I don't think the fights are as interesting or cool. Not interesting, but I don't think the fights are as cool and action packed as like Gundam. But if you want to see like real like good found military strategies, I think this is the show. / movies. Anyways, the second last one here. This is a show called High School of the Dead. This is one of the raunchier shows I may have mentioned before. This is a show that may have opened a third eye in the anime scene for moi. I think this show is definitely for a particular audience, but it's a zombie show. It's kind of like a harem style show that I was kind of making fun of before, but this show has like the main characters who in scanty like high school clothing, who find themselves fighting zombies and find themselves in particular raunchy situations. And also just high school students fucking dying again, their faces ripped off. It's crazy. I think this show is like just a ball to watch. The subversion is definitely more closer to what the story is actually trying to be, and then the dubbed, when they took with the story here, is that they just make it. They just start making like every like stupid zombie movie reference joke that you can think of. Like if you think just like zombie slop movies, this takes that and just elevates it to its own story with like, oh my god, they're making like George A. Romero dumb style jokes and Rob Zombie. Even the way they like make fun of zombies and just and their like seductive ways. It's 13 episodes plus like an OVA. Unfortunately, that's as far as this show goes, and I think that's all the show needs. This falls into one of those segments where they didn't think they can go any further. It has a bit of a sadder backstory at the end of it, but I'm not going to get too deep into it. But it only has 13 episodes in OVA, and that's all it does. It comes in, comes out. It has one of the most goofiest anime scenes ever, was when I mentioned the goofy boob physics, where one of the main characters he shoots like a 50 caliber sniper rifle, and this girl who's fighting with a sword, she's like slashing zombies, gutting their heads off, whatever the heck, and to dodge this sniper rifle bullet, because he's like he's shooting, oh shit, I gotta get out of the way. Instead of like, she does like a backflip, but her like the bullet goes in between her why am I describing this? It goes between her boobs and like except it doesn't actually go, like the bullet doesn't like shoot through her. Her like boobs are bouncing so much that the way her boobs bounce, the bullet curves right around it, that of her first boob to the second boob, and goes through it without harming her at all. It's such a goofy goddamn scene. And he ends up shooting more zombies. Tits and blood, swords and guns, trucks and dumb camping things and beachside stories. This show might have it all within the 2010s era of raunchy shows. I do not recommend it. Anyways, you really have to be a certain grind for this. But now, one of my favorite shows. This is actually a show that I think has resonated with me more than Dragon Ball. I find this is a show called Gurren Lagann, or Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. This is I think it's like 26 episodes. This is anime from a Studio Trigger, one of the really breakout animes in like the mid to late 2000s. This is probably my favorite mecha show by bar none. I don't think anything is going to come close. I don't think anything can come close because the absurdity of this show. This is a show about believing in yourself to the truest of forms that you can goddamn weaponize believing in yourself. I believe in myself this much that it becomes like a charge for your will of life. So the premise of this show is Simone and Kamina are living underground. Humanity has been driven underground by a bunch of beast folk because beast folk are now monitoring the lives of humans. So to do that, they make them underground homes to dig the minerals of such. So humanity is kind of repressed in this state. So but Simone and Kamina don't know any other life than living underground and digging minerals for the beast folk. But one day, Simone finds himself finding a drill, like necklace with his own, and finding a mech that's buried underground, and finding this key, this drill key that he just found that's able to turn on this mech, and he finds himself powering through and just turning on and breaking through the ground and showcasing and tearing himself to the surface. Finding himself to the surface for the first time, and because of that, beast folk are like, what the heck, the humans are breaking out, and he uses this mech to end up destroying some of the beast folk, and they're like, oh my god, what's going on? And this girl named Yoko is like, we're part of the resistance, we're trying to take the surface back for humans. Like, whoa, what the fuck? And in this instance, when they destroy one of the beast folks mechs, they ended up like merging like Simone's mech that's like the size of like a car, putting on top of this mech that's like maybe like 30 feet tall, and then making like it becomes like Lagann, and then just mech out Gurren. Then they put Lagann and Gurren together, and now you got Gurren Lagann. It's a super mech. Whoa! And then so he has Simone piloting the head, then you have Kamina piloting the body, and them two become an unstoppable bro force to help take over, help reclaim the planet for humanity, and fighting, taking the fight to the beast folk. It's a simple premise, and for a simple show that uses the boundful hope of humanity and the waving spirit of mankind and all that jazz. And if you ever feel like you're never going to doubt yourself, well, if you can't find yourself to believe in yourself, believe in the me that believes in you, because I will always believe in you. Like, if you can't find yourself to believe in yourself, believe in me. Oh my god, the amount of like starstruck ways they really point out to never give up, no matter what the situation is, no matter how dire. Even the twist that this show has, Like I think around like episode 8, it takes like a tone you wouldn't think the show would go, and it actually has you questioning whether like my God, I actually have no idea how this is going to unfold and the way they beat the beast folk. But through power of believing yourself and the power within, Simone and gang are able to find themselves uh, fighting against the beast folk and fighting against other entities and finding themselves in even more absurd situations. And then how absurd is absurd, because I don't think you can get more absurd than Dragon Lagan, because you first find yourself fighting on Earth, then you find yourself fighting in the atmosphere, then you find yourself fighting in space, and you find yourself fighting in like outside in galaxies, and you find yourself fighting even beyond that. And like the show becomes like such a ridiculous at a point to you're like, what the, I don't know how much more absurd and ridiculous like these fights can get, or how much like willpower can take you, but like damn, this takes you for a goddamn ride. Because who the hell do you think we are? Whoa! Yeah, honestly, if you're wanting a show that just purely motivates you to power through anything you can, even just believing in yourself and then believing in others, I think this is a show that does it all. This show has a peak beyond peaks for me. I think it might be just one of my favorite, like probably my favorite show, just to be in general. But yeah, Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. That is my 3x3 anime that I've held dear to me or just really enjoy watching. I think I've only gave like an actual rating to like Violet Evergarden for 9.5. Dragon Ball Z, I'm gonna give it like a good that's a tough one. Dragon Ball Z, I'm probably gonna give probably a 7.5, maybe 8. It sounds weird and shocking, I know, but it's a lot of episodes to watch. Granted, a lot of it is really interesting, but you really have to you really got to get cozy and dig and sink your teeth into this to really enjoy it. And sometimes a lot of people don't have the patience for that, which is, I think, a bit more of a detriment than actually like a pro for it, unfortunately. But since I've grown up with it so much, I do think those criticisms are actual valid, but it doesn't stop me from loving it as much as I do. But if I were gonna rate the show definitely is probably just like an 8 out of 10. I do love it to the extent of what it taught me and what I carry with me, but I think generally, if I were to view it as a whole as a series, no, you know what? I take that back. You know what? No, I will not. I'm hearing myself. I'm trying to gaslight myself. That is not me. No, that isn't. That doesn't make sense to me. Because more I'm thinking about, no, screw that. This is a 10 out of 10. Screw that shit. Yeah, you know what? I'll stand by that. You know what? Yeah, because the more I think about the show, than how much I like, you know, screw what other people think, man. I don't care if people have a hard time enjoying this. I enjoy the freaking crap out of this. The fights, the animation, and the way Goku and friends powered through every obstacle was amazing. Absolute testosterone best. Baki Hanma, however, I will probably like if I were to give a rating, it's like I love it, the absurdity, but it's definitely not for everybody. Like this is a show it's a hard sell, man. Like even the premise alone just sounds incredibly goofy. This is probably gonna be my like 8 out of 10. Fate Zero, I think it's a Fate Zero, I actually genuinely think is a 10 out of 10. Just the way they the way all the characters flow with each other and the way they like do their meticulous plan to kill each other, I think is phenomenal. Monster, this is also I might as well just get all the 10 out of 10s if I'm being honest. Yeah. You know what? Why am I doing all right with my 10 and 10 to saying why? I pretty much just explained why I like all these shows and given the premises of this. Screw that. Yeah, these are all 10 out of 10s, including you, Violet Evergarden. I know I gave you a criticism saying 9.5. That's the only reason why I'm talking about this, because your ending was kind of weird. But you know what? I'm going to ignore that because the amount of feelings and joy I got from watching that show is still great. And you know what? Same with the rest of these shows. And that's my 3x3 scripted Sully. Take it from here. That's completely unscripted Sully off the rocker. Whoa. Yeah. So Dragon Ball Z, Baki Hanma, Fate Zero, Monster, Violet Evergarden, Vinland Saga, Legend of the Galactic Heroes, Movie 2, I believe, High School of the Dead, and Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. That's my 3x3, baby. Woo! Oh, excuse me. The 2010s is when I noticed the more negative appeal that a lot of folk who were into it would point out. Either that, or I started to notice it more as I matured. But anywho, those very same raunchy anime and really strange things that anime would have in it, well, who make people who didn't watch or understand stay away from it, gave it a less childish, cartoony vibes to why does her boobs ignore physics kind of vibe. Granted, that anime has always had this, but since more people on the web were seeing it now more than ever, it garnered that outlook on it. And the mid 2010s was when streaming platforms were really trying to gather that audience and incorporating more anime in their sites legally this time, and trying to spread more appeal to foreign audiences. This helped more shows stay afloat, since unfortunately shows people enjoyed watching, the ratings and viewerships were mostly taken into account from Japanese audiences at the time, and the platforms many international folk were watching from didn't actually contribute to most of its success. Even the many AniTubers that were making careers on YouTube, doing reviews and memes and making abridged versions of their favorite shows, were trying to boast to watch a lot of this anime legally to show support, making the anime community a lot more vocal in that sense, and helped really shift a lot of people from to stream it legally, and really felt like the anime community as a whole really matured. The late 2010s and early 2020s now have anime being way more accessible medium to watch, as they're more open on the streaming platforms for anyone to watch. Heck, this era felt like it had the most accessible anime to come out, since it didn't have a lot of cliche archetypes anime was known for, and making more unique characters in their stories, with one big exception that choose to ignore or acknowledge it unless they're doing something really cool or unique with it. Isekai! Nowadays, anime just seems like another stylish show to watch, and truth be told, I don't think we've been in a healthier state of it. Crunchyroll has been doing anime awards to celebrate the community, and the directors, actors, and crews who make these shows and films happen has been a godsend, regardless of any minor issues it has. Anime going from obscure to more fun to watch and now to be openly celebrated is absolutely fantastic. These are the shows I felt have stood the test of time and really inspired me with the themes that I carry with me to this day. That concludes my thoughts on everything. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Let me know what anime you loved growing up and what it meant to you in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe and hit the notifications bar for more videos like these. We're on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Anyways, just end the episode here. That was my only segment. The episode's over. Like you can leave now. Like it's done. You don't need to keep watching or listening. I've already said all my scripted parts, man. Just go! Anyways, I was trying to think of something different to do at the end there, but there we go.